These archaeologists have found something that shouldn't exist, and it will shock you to the core. From people frozen for millennia to shocking artifacts. Curious? Join us and let's go. Number 19. The vampire's burial. In 17th century Poland, a peculiar discovery revealed how fear can lead to extreme practices. A woman was buried with a sickle poised over her neck, ready to decapitate her if she tried to rise from the dead. As if that weren't enough, a padlock was placed on her grave to ensure she remained locked in her coffin. This was not an isolated case. During times of plague or unknown disease, terrified communities would look for scapegoats, accusing people of being vampires. In other similar cases, bodies were found with large rocks stuffed into their mouths, a desperate attempt to prevent them from biting others if they awakened. Number 18. The Ice Princess. In the middle of frozen Siberia, a woman slept for 2,000 years until she was discovered in 1993. But this was no ordinary woman. She was the Ice Princess. Her coffin, a massive larch log decorated with deer, a sacred animal to her people. The most incredible thing is that she was buried with all the comforts for her final journey. She had 2 tables full of food and drink, and even her horses were buried with her to accompany her. But the story has a sad side. Studies have shown that she died young, at the age of 30, because of breast cancer, aggravated by a serious fall. Number 17. The Franklin Expedition. In 1845, 2 ships set out in search of glory, but found only tragedy. The ships HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, equipped with the best technology of the time, mysteriously disappeared during an expedition to the Arctic. The fate of the 129 crew members remained a mystery for decades, until disturbing discoveries began to emerge. The bones found in the frozen tundra told a story of utter despair. Markings on the remains revealed something horrific. The crew resorted to cannibalism in their final moments. Lead poisoning, likely from canned food, may have contributed to their downfall. Years later, the ships were found preserved beneath the ice, holding even more secrets of this tragedy. I have a question for you. First, I'd like to tell you that it's possible to keep up with the biggest curiosities of our world every day. But for that, you need to be subscribed to our channel. So have you subscribed yet? If not, take the opportunity to subscribe now. Now that you've done that, let's go. Number 16. The Headless Vikings. In 2009, in the quiet hills of Dorset, England, archaeologists found something straight out of a nightmare. A grave containing 54 decapitated Viking warriors. But that wasn't the only strange thing. The heads were neatly arranged in one pile, and the bodies in another. These Vikings were young and strong, probably mercenaries who had been unlucky enough to be captured by the Anglo-Saxons. The marks on their bones show that this was no ordinary killing. It was an organized execution, with clean cuts made from the front, as if in a ritual. The weirdest thing? It may have been part of the St. Blaise's Day massacre of 1002, when King Ethelred ordered the death of all Danes in England. Why were they killed in such a careful and elaborate manner? To this day, no one knows. Number 15. The Baby Sewer. In Ascalon, Israel, a discovery shook the archaeological community when a team began exploring an ancient Roman sewer. What seemed like an ordinary dig turned into an archaeological nightmare when hundreds of tiny bones began emerging from the mud. Analysis revealed that they were the remains of nearly 100 newborn babies, discarded in the sewage system beneath an ancient Roman bathhouse. What's most intriguing is that, contrary to what one might expect in Roman society, which traditionally valued boys, many of the remains were of male infants. This discovery raises disturbing questions about the true purpose of the bathhouse above. Number 14. Buried alive. In ancient China, a disturbing discovery has brought to light the case of a 25-year-old woman who suffered a terrible fate. Her body was found in a contorted position, her eyes wide open in an expression of pure terror. Analysis revealed that she had just given birth when complications with the placenta caused severe hemorrhaging. The family, believing her dead, hurriedly buried her in a coffin that was too small. Evidence shows that she woke up inside the coffin. Nail marks and fractures on her fingers and toes indicate her desperate struggle to escape. The placenta had been detached during her frantic movements, worsening the hemorrhage as she struggled in vain against the walls of the coffin. Number 13. The Island of Murders. In 1629, the coast of Australia was the scene of a horror story that turned a small island into a nightmare scenario. The Dutch ship Batavia sank near Beacon Island, but the real terror began after the survivors reached the shore. Under the leadership of the ruthless Geronimus Cornelis, a bloody revolt resulted in the massacre of 125 people. Men, women, and children. For 3 terrifying months, the island became a battlefield. Excavations have revealed shallow graves scattered throughout the territory, as well as the remains of fortifications built by survivors in desperate attempts to defend themselves. The skeletons found tell silent stories of extreme violence, betrayal, and survival. Number 12. Birth in the coffin. In a small Italian town called Imola, archaeologists have made a unique discovery dating back to the 7th or 8th century. A woman who was 38 weeks pregnant, just 2 weeks before her due date, was found in her grave with a macabre surprise. The remains of her baby were found next to her legs, indicating that she gave birth after her death. This rare phenomenon, known as post-mortem fetal extrusion, was caused by decomposition gases. The mother had a small hole in her skull, suggesting that she had undergone trepanation, a primitive surgery used to treat a variety of conditions. This procedure likely caused her death, but her body continued the natural birth process even after her death. Number 11. The sacrificial pits in China. Deep within an ancient Chinese city near the Great Wall, archaeologists have discovered something disturbing beneath a stepped pyramid. 6 pits contained the skulls of 80 young women, carefully arranged in a ritual pattern. This was no ordinary grave. Each skull had been precisely positioned, suggesting a greater, more sinister purpose. The site, a massive Bronze Age structure, held these secrets beneath its imposing pyramid. Human sacrifices were not uncommon in ancient China, but the specific and organized nature of these deposits raises troubling questions about the rituals practiced in this city. Number 10. The Cave of Bones. In the Atapuerca Mountains of Spain, archaeologists have made a discovery that has changed our understanding of early human violence. In 1987, a cave revealed the remains of at least 28 individuals who lived more than 400,000 years ago. Most disturbing was the analysis of one of the skulls found. The person did not die of natural causes. He was brutally murdered with repeated blows from a blunt object, possibly a stone axe. Reconstructions of 20 other partial skulls from the site also show signs of violent trauma, proving that human brutality has deeper roots than we imagined. Number 9. The Children of Lulelaco. High in the Andes, nearly 20,000 feet above sea level, archaeologists have made a discovery that reveals a dark side of Inca rituals. 3 children were found in a burial chamber, their bodies perfectly preserved by the intense cold. These were no simple deaths. They were human sacrifices performed in a ritual known as capacocha. Analysis of the bodies revealed that the children had been drugged with coca leaves and alcohol before the sacrifice. The oldest, known as La Doncella, was approximately 15 years old and was found sitting with her legs crossed, as if she were sleeping. Beside her, a 7-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl completed the sacrificial group. Their bodies are so well preserved that even the details of their clothing remain intact. Number 8. The Bound Mummy. In the heart of Peru, archaeologists have made a discovery that has left the scientific community speechless. A 1,200-year-old mummy was found in a position that puzzles experts to this day. The body was completely tied with ropes, and its hands covered its face in a gesture that seems to demonstrate deep fear or anguish. Interestingly, despite the apparent condition of a prisoner, the body was placed in a formal burial chamber, something usually reserved for respected members of society. The ropes that wrapped the body were elaborately tied, suggesting a specific ritual rather than a simple punishment. Some researchers believe that this burial method was intended to prevent the spirit of the deceased from returning to the world of the living. Number 7. The Swamp Men. In the heart of Denmark in 1950, a woman cutting peat made a discovery that changed our understanding of ancient history. The body of a man, known today as Toland Man, was so well preserved that it appeared to have been recently dead. His hair, skin, and even his facial expression were intact, as if he had merely been sleeping. But the truth behind this discovery was much darker. The man had marks on his neck that indicated hanging, a ritual sacrifice to the ancient gods. His body had been placed in the bog as an offering to divine forces, and he was not alone. Other bodies, such as the Grauballe Man and the Old Croghan Man, found in Ireland in 2003, told even more brutal stories of ritual violence. Number 6. The Lovers of Valdaro. In an Italian field near Mantua, archaeologists have found something unique. 2 skeletons in an embrace, known as the Lovers of Valdaro. Dated back to approximately 6,000 years ago, the bodies of a young couple were found in an eternal embrace, their arms and legs intertwined as if comforting each other in their final moments. Analysis of the remains showed that both were around 20 years old when they died. The man had an arrowhead lodged near his neck, suggesting a violent death. The position of the bodies indicates that they were deliberately placed in this way, possibly in a final act of love or as part of a specific burial ritual. It is one of the oldest known representations of human affection, preserved through the millennia. Number 5. The Tower of Skulls. Beneath the streets of modern-day Mexico City, archaeologists have discovered a macabre structure that tells the bloody story of the Aztec Empire. A massive tower built from more than 600 human skulls, known as Huitzilopochtli, offers a disturbing glimpse into Aztec sacrificial rituals. The most surprising thing about this discovery was that, contrary to what was initially thought, it was not just warriors who made up the tower. Analysis revealed skulls of women and children, suggesting that sacrifices went far beyond the battlefield. Each skull was carefully positioned and joined together with lime mortar, creating a complex circular pattern that served as an offering to the gods of war and the sun. Number 4. The Final Hug. In China's Shanxi province, archaeologists have discovered a scene that has frozen maternal love in time. The skeletons of a mother and child, who were in each other's arms more than 4,000 years ago, were found amid the remains of a natural disaster. An earthquake caused a landslide that buried the ancient settlement of Legia, known as the Chinese Pompeii. The mother's arms were still wrapped around the child in a desperate protective gesture against the relentless force of nature. The site revealed other entire families who had perished in the disaster, but no scene was as moving as this display of maternal love that had endured for millennia. Number 3. The Witches' Chapel. In the heart of Scotland, a chilling discovery reveals how fear can turn a sacred place into a prison. St. Mary's Chapel, meant to be a place of peace and refuge, became a dungeon for suspected witches during the Great Scottish Witch Hunt of the 16th century. In 1597, in Aberdeen alone, 31 people were arrested and chained to an iron ring in the chapel wall. The panic was so intense that neighbors reported neighbors, fearing that they might curse their crops or kill their livestock. Even chained, the witches were considered dangerous, capable of casting deadly spells from within the chapel. Number 2. Chemical warfare in antiquity. Just imagine, you're in an ancient battle, deep in a dark tunnel, when suddenly a deadly gas begins to spread. It sounds like a movie script, but it really happened. In 1933, an archaeologist named Robert Dumasnil made a disturbing discovery in the ruins of the city of Dura Europos in Syria. At the bottom of an ancient tunnel, 19 Roman soldiers lay piled up as if trying to escape something terrible. On the other side, a single Persian soldier clutched his armor in sheer terror. The mystery was further compounded when traces of sulfur and bitumen were found on the tunnel walls. The truth? The Persians had created a primitive chemical weapon. By mixing sulfur crystals with bitumen, they produced a toxic gas that killed all the Roman soldiers within minutes. It was one of the first recorded uses of chemical weapons in history. Number 1. The Eternal Kiss. In the ancient ruins of Hassanlu, Iran, 2 skeletons have been found locked in an embrace that lasted 2,800 years. Known as the Lovers of Hassanlu, they were discovered in 1972 and surprised researchers. They were initially thought to be a man and a woman, but DNA analysis revealed that both were male. Found in a grain store, probably seeking refuge during an attack, their positions suggest an intimate moment frozen in time. One of them, younger, lay on his back, while the older one gently touched his face. With no personal belongings around them, only the gesture of affection remained as a silent witness to their story. Now I want to know from you, what if you were in a cave in Mexico and came across a scary and mysterious giant? Well, that's what happened, and we show the whole outcome in the video that is now appearing on the screen. So take advantage and click now to watch. Well, that's it, and until next time, Curious One.